In a small town where everyone knew each other, life moved at a peaceful, predictable pace. People went about their daily routines, children played in the streets without fear, and the local police force, though not always busy with crime, maintained a steady presence and kept order in the community. But one fateful evening, a shocking event unfolded, one that would shake the entire police department and serve as a powerful lesson for everyone involved. Emily, a young woman in her early 20s, was returning home from work. Hardworking and independent, she was well respected in the community. As she walked through the quiet park, she relished the cool evening air, letting the gentle breeze wash away the fatigue of a long day. Not far from her house, a patrol car was parked by the roadside. Inside sat two officers, Jake and Ryan. Both were known for their easygoing attitudes, often finding ways to entertain themselves during their shifts, especially on slow nights when little happened. However, their idea of fun sometimes crossed the line between harmless humor and outright irresponsibility. As Emily approached, Jake nudged Ryan with a smirk. "Watch this," he whispered. Without a second thought, he stepped out of the car and walked toward. At first, Emily assumed he was going to ask her a routine question, perhaps about her safety or whether she had seen anything unusual in the area. But then, something happened that left her in shock. With an arrogant grin, Jake stepped forward and, under the pretense of an accident, lifted Emily's skirt. Time seemed to freeze. Emily gasped, her face flushing with a mix of humiliation and fury. For a moment, the world around her vanished. The park, the gentle night breeze, the distant sound of traffic, all drowned out by the deafening rush of her own heartbeat. Jake and Ryan burst into laughter, their amusement unmistakable as they exchanged glances. To them, it was just a joke, a harmless prank to lighten their dull evening. But to Emily, it was anything but. She didn't scream, she didn't cry. Instead, she took a deep breath, her fists clenched at her sides, and fixed the officers with a piercing gaze. Her voice was calm, but her words carried undeniable weight. "You'll regret this!" Jake chuckled and waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, come on, lighten up. It was just a joke." Ryan, still laughing, added, "Don't take it so seriously." Without another word, Emily turned on her heel and walked away, her posture stiff with restrained fury. The officers watched her go, shaking their heads as they climbed back into their car, completely unaware that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. But Emily had no intention of letting the incident slide. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and with a steady hand, dialed a number she knew by heart, her father. But Emily's father wasn't just any man. He was a police general, a highly respected officer known for his integrity, discipline, and unwavering sense of justice. He had spent decades building a career defined by fairness, and he had raised his daughter to believe in the same values. When he answered, his voice was calm as always. "Emily?" Her voice was steady, but anger simmered beneath the surface. "Dad, I need to tell you something." She recounted everything, the smirk, the so-called prank, the laughter, the violation, and the utter lack of professionalism. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, in a measured tone, her father simply said, "We'll take care of it." Emily knew her father well enough to understand exactly what those words meant. He was not the kind of man to let such behavior go unpunished. By the next morning, an internal investigation was launched within the police department. Officers exchanged uneasy glances as rumors spread like wildfire. The general himself had taken a personal interest in the case. When he arrived at the precinct, a heavy tension filled the air. With an unwavering gaze, he ordered the security footage to be reviewed. Witnesses were questioned, and the truth came to light quickly and unmistakably. By that evening, Jake and Ryan were summoned to the chief's office. When they walked in, they found the general standing behind the desk, his expression unreadable. He gestured for them to sit. But the moment they did, his voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You have disgraced your uniform," he said, his tone devoid of emotion but filled with absolute authority. "The badge you wear is not just a symbol of power, it is a symbol of responsibility, of trust. You were entrusted to serve and protect the people of this town. And instead you violated that trust in the most disgraceful way." Neither officer dared to speak. The smugness they once wore so easily had long since vanished. The general's next words sealed their fate. "Effective immediately, you are dismissed from duty. You will not be reinstated. Ever." A heavy silence followed. Jake and Ryan sat motionless, their faces pale. They had never expected their actions to have such devastating consequences. It had seemed like a simple joke to them, but now they had lost everything: their jobs, their reputations, and any future in law enforcement. The news of their dismissal spread quickly. Their fellow officers were stunned. Some shook their heads in disbelief, while others, particularly the female officers, felt a sense of grim satisfaction. Justice had been served. As for Emily, when she heard about her father's decision, she simply nodded. She hadn't sought revenge, only accountability. And in the end, justice had been delivered.
From that day forward, the department changed. Officers became more aware of their responsibilities, more mindful of their behavior. The story of how a thoughtless joke cost 2 officers their careers became a cautionary tale, a reminder that no position of power comes without the weight of responsibility. This story serves as a powerful message. Respect is not optional. It is a fundamental right. For those in positions of power, especially in law enforcement, every action carries consequences. A uniform does not grant the right to abuse authority. It is a privilege to wear the uniform, one that demands respect, integrity, and accountability. For everyone else, this story carries another lesson: the importance of standing up for yourself. Emily did not let fear silence her. She demanded justice, not out of revenge, but out of principle, and in the end, justice prevailed. Let this be a reminder: the way we treat others matters. Even the smallest act of disrespect can lead to irreversible consequences, and those who misuse their power, no matter their position, will be held accountable.